Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for our weekly session of Sustainable Brain. I am Kristi Villanueva with the West San Antonio Chamber of Commerce. And joining me today is Dr. Sunita, the very famous brain coach. How are you, Dr. Sunita?
I am doing great, Kristi. Thank you for asking. It's so great to be on with you again today. And today we've got a really special guest.
Yes, we do. So today we have State Representative Philip Cortez, and he is a phenomenal advocate in our community. And I really enjoy interacting with him because he's not only a state representative here in Bexar County, but he's also a professor. So hello, Representative Cortez. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Kristi. Thank you for having me. And Dr. Sunita, very nice to see you.
Nice to meet you.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about, you're involved in a lot of different committees on the Texas legislature side, and then you also advocate for different things in addition to being a professor. So give us a little quick summary of what all that is.
Well, and once again, I appreciate you having me on. And this is obviously a very challenging time for our community, for our state. And so there's a lot of different things going on right now that we're doing at the state level, at the local level, at the university to try to ensure that our community defeats COVID and that we get back to normal as soon as possible. And so I'm very fortunate that I wear many hats, but I have a lot of wonderful people that are assisting. I have a lot of wonderful advocates at every level that are ensuring that veterans have a voice, that our senior citizens have a voice, that our students have a voice in higher education. And so we have a lot of coals in the fire, but I do believe in the end, our community is going to succeed and COVID-19 will not defeat us. And so, one of the hats, as you mentioned, that I wear is I teach at the University of Incarnate Word. I've been teaching there for about almost 3 years. I teach in their public administration program, and also they have some leadership studies classes there that I teach. And so it's a wonderful program there. Our students are adjusting because all classes now at the university are online, and they will be that way until the end of the year, calendar year of this year. And then obviously we'll relook at it, or the leadership of the university will relook at it in December to decide what's going to happen in the spring. And so many of my students, the only interaction we're having is through Zoom phone calls and emails. Yes. and Blackboard. And so it's an adjustment. A lot of our students really enjoy in classroom setting, person-to-person instruction, interaction with each other, feedback from, on whatever topic we're talking about. And it's limited when you have to do everything virtually. However, we're pushing through, and the students' concerns that they might have, we're doing everything we can to let them know that this is a different type of semester, and this is a different type of year that we're going through, and we're working with them very closely. Mm-hmm. We recognize that some of them are working from home, and thus they have work going on, and they have school going on, and they may even have children running around in the background, and so it's an adjustment for our students at UIW, but they're pushing through, and everybody's doing well in the class. And so we have great leadership there. Dean Vince Porter is our dean there at UIW, and Dr. Thomas Evans is the president there, and they've done some great things to ensure that the university has some safety protocols in place for all of its students. So that's one hat that I wear. As you know, another hat that I've worn for 20 years was serving in the U.S. Air Force there at Lackland Air Force Base. I was a captain there for many years, and that's something that is near and dear to my heart in terms of any issue impacting our veterans, both here locally and at the state level. Because a lot of our veterans, you and I were discussing, or you were mentioning to me, Kristi, a little while ago about the access to care that veterans have, or that they are currently lacking because of COVID-19 and the limits as to what type of care they can be receiving right now from the VA. And so, we're watching that carefully at the state level, working with our congressional delegation members to ensure that the VA does continue to provide some important medical services to our veteran community here in San Antonio and throughout the state of Texas. And so those are just a couple of things we're working on, and obviously we're trying to get ready for our legislative session, which will be coming up here in 4 months, and that is going to go on. It's, you know, it's in the Constitution that the legislature has to meet every other year, and so there's no delaying it or canceling it or anything like that. It's going to go on. It's just a matter of what it's going to look like and how we're going to conduct the business of the people in a safe manner. And so we're looking at all options right now to how we're going to get public input, how we're going to have public committee meetings, how we're going to be interacting on the House floor in terms of being able to take votes, and all of that's being worked out right now. But either way, session is coming in about 4.5 months. And so my staff and I are getting ready with legislation that we want to file to get ready for that here in January.
Thank you. And thank you for your service at all levels, and to your staff, because I know they're putting themselves out there too to help support you. And I feel like the Texas legislature is, it's going to be like a nail biter this time around. It's always exciting, and developing policy is very important and can be many times just mind-blowing how all these things come together to develop particular policies that help us in our everyday lives. But this time around in 2021, it is going to be even more critical. We're thinking of all the deficiencies that we have discovered during COVID, and all the things that we've really forgot to put in place before, or current policy that needs to be adjusted to our new lives as we move forward.
That's exactly.
So then I guess I have to ask you, my first question would be, now that we have, how are the people adjusting both on the student population side and your constituents? So now we're staying home and we're having issues with jobs. Many cannot go to work and have been laid off. And if they are staying home and attempting to get work maybe online, well, that's yet another challenge, our digital divide. How do you interpret that as far as their emotions and their feelings, and how they convey that to you and your staff?
Well, my staff has continued to work for the community. Right now, we are, for a while there, we're all working from home remotely. But now we have a skeleton crew there at my district office at South Zamora Military Drive. So we have one staff member there every day, and my chief of staff, Clarissa, and my district director, Katie, and my legislative director, David. You work with all of them, Kristi. You know that they're very dedicated to helping our community. And at the Capitol, we have Jim Boynton, who's working from home too, in the Austin area. So, you know, my staff is doing their best to try to continue to serve our constituents, even though a lot of the services that they're used to are either on hold or they've been severely limited right now. And so we're just, one key thing that we tell our residents is that, you know, we have access to resources, we have answers to potential questions they may have. If they're having hiccups with, for example, the Texas Workforce Commission in terms of maybe some of their unemployment benefits, we want to serve as an advocate for them and as a resource for them, so they're not worried about, you know, how much longer until I get another paycheck to be able to pay my mortgage or my rent or whatever it is that they might, whatever bills they might be facing monthly. And so the TWC is working hard, but they're overwhelmed with the number of unemployment claims that have been made, and my staff is taking a lot of those calls. And so we just want our residents to know, you know, whatever they're feeling in terms of uncertainty or fears, that we are still here as a resource for them. We may not be able to see them as much in person. However, we're still going to do what we can to reach out to whatever department they need some assistance with at the state level. Another thing we're doing, for example, you know, the school year is about to begin in some capacity or another, whether it's, you know, in classroom or virtually. And every year we've had a big back to school fair there at Palo Alto College. And, you know, we average over 1,200 people there every year, where we give out free backpacks to every child and every family member that comes, full of school supplies. We have multiple community partners that also are there to give out supplies and to give out resource information. And then we have university health system, they're providing immunizations for children to be able to go back to school. And so that obviously cannot happen this year in the capacity that we always had, because we always had at the Palo Alto College Gymnasium. This year, we're still having the event next Saturday, August the 15th. It's still going to be at Palo Alto College. However, it's going to be a drive-through event. And we've partnered with the San Antonio Food Bank, who have become really good at having drive-through events, to pass out food to families in need. Well, we're taking that same blueprint to ensure that a family that shows up doesn't have to get down from their vehicle. We'll give them however many backpacks they need full of school supplies for the children. And we're even going to have a mobile bus there from University Health System to give out any immunizations that the child might need by appointment. And so, things like that, the community for me, we've done it for the last 3 years. They're used to it. They expect it. They rely on it at times, especially now if they're out of work. We want them to know that we're still going to have these type of events, although they're going to be a little different from what they've seen in the past, because we want to keep their safety in mind. We're still wanting to have some sort of normalcy where people know that, okay, that event by Representative Cortez and his staff is still going on, even though we're facing, this terrible pandemic. And so, just to have events like that, to let them know that we're here as a resource, to let them know that we have not packed up our tent in any way and gone home. We are still working. My staff and I are still working for them. That's the only thing I feel we can do to reassure them that we're going to beat this and we're going to make it through.
No, absolutely. That outreach is critical as we look for that connection and that hope to approaching that next level thinking. So Dr. Sunita, I know you and I have talked about that several times, how there are many people that feel like they're in despair, and here Representative Cortez is having that direct interaction with them, needing the help, needing that outreach. This is just your average person, our neighbor, that needs the help with their children. And it's, and I as you mentioned that, Representative Cortez, the interaction, not only with the food, but the school supplies, and the immunizations, just that medical attention, it's been difficult. So Dr. Sunita, maybe you have a little insight for us on that, on how people are really handling that, carrying that load.
Yeah. And Kristi, we've been talking about, when we started the series, Sustainable Brain, the question was, how during this crisis do we sustain our brain? How do we stay mentally resilient? And State Representative Cortez is an excellent example. What we talked about was Maslow's pyramid. I don't know if you guys remember. There's basically 5 human needs, according to Abraham Maslow. And the top human need was self-actualization. But he said that when we're in fear and when most human beings just go for the lower needs, which is food, shelter, survival based. But what we were proposing was, if we turn the pyramid upside down and pursue being the higher self, then we would actually be mentally tough. And this State Representative Cortez is an excellent example. In his speaking, and I was writing, he said, that event is still going on. I can only think of how I can, how I can help. You see, the things that he's focusing on, these are the things that we've been talking about to be mentally tough. Now, I'm publishing a study right now about the need that veterans have as they transition home from active duty to civilian workforce, the need they have. And the research is finding that purpose and self-actualization actually provide a protective factor and allows for resilience. And this is a great example. You heard State Representative Cortez talk about like what his focus is. He's talking about the students. He's talking about immunization. Now, very simple. What he is doing to be mentally tough is he has a reason to get up in the morning. He is pursuing the higher self. And I'm sure, State Representative Cortez, you've heard of Abraham Maslow. It's a very common thing. I don't know if you ever realized that you're doing all the right things. You're doing what we've been asking people to do, because the human brain wants right now, I got to survive. Mm-hmm. And it's fear-based. And so you are doing, even though I'm sure you have a mortgage that you pay, I'm sure that you're thinking about basic needs, but you're forcing your brain to think about a higher calling, right? That the top of the human needs, which is what can I do to serve? And a lot of people, I think Kristi and I have been perhaps, oh, they're so idealistic. Oh, they're just so, it's hard science, what you're saying. Please go ahead. Tell us, have you thought about that? Do you realize that you do that?
Actually, I wasn't aware. I hadn't tied, the theory you're talking about back to my actions. I mean, a lot of it just has to do with the fact that, I want to be able to help people. That's why I got into politics. So it stems from that. That's the foundation that I do this on, that my staff and I, why we do what we do. But at the same time, I mean, if that theory is fitting into what we're doing, I would love to read more about it, just to be able to connect the dots there. I think residents and myself, even, everybody wants to go back to the way things were, go back to normal, and you have some sort of, routine again that they were familiar with before, everything became unhinged in March. And so I'm hoping that just little events or things like the back to school fair we're having next weekend, it provides some sort of stability and or some sort of familiarity with something they used to do in the past. And it was a great event, and we had, a lot of people there. We had carnival rides, we had food given out, and that big back to school fair. And so I just want people to know that things are going to get back to normal one day. And us hosting these type of events to help them, I'm hoping that gives them some sort of hope to know that, we're turning the corner on this, hopefully very soon. And hopefully, we'll be back with our family and our loved ones and going back to doing the normal things that we used to do before everything became unhinged in March. And so that's another reason that I want to have this event, with safety protocols in place, obviously, but just also so people know our community is still here and we're still strong.
Yeah, absolutely. So personally, what has made you go from the military and then into public service and teaching? What keeps you in that kind of this little triangle, so to speak, of action? Because that's really what we want to know. There's people out there that say, well, we see you as a leader in our community, but how do we harness that power? How do we become, how do we create that movement forward? I don't know that I can do it personally, or, I'm just one person type of thing. So how have you done it in your younger years and then today? How do you push forward?
Well, I truly believe that one man or one woman can make a difference in somebody's life and and can impact the entire community in a very positive way. So that's what guides me every day. And it really goes back to the foundation that my mom and dad, Rose and Willie Cortez, gave me. Growing up, my brothers and I, we were always taught to give back to our community, to serve others, to help others. My mom always used to talk to me and my brothers a lot about the Kennedys, growing up, how the Kennedys brought a lot of hope to the community, especially the Hispanic, the Latino community back in the 60s. And so, hearing about the Kennedys and then seeing my own parents, serving their community. My dad is a retired City of San Antonio employee with over 30 years of service. My mom's a retired librarian from the South End Independent School District with over 24 years. And so seeing their service and then what I heard about from other public servants such as the Kennedys in the past, that led me on a path to where I said, well, I would like to do that. I would like to help others. I would like to give people some sort small slice of hope. If I can give a small slice of hope to an individual the way that they gave it to my parents when they were growing up, I just felt I really wanted to do that. And so it just really starts with the foundation that you're given at home when you're growing up, and then moving forward when you become an adult, you can really decide, okay, well, what is the best way to approach that, and what's the best way to do that? And I really wanted to serve my country because of my grandparents, both of my grandfathers that are in heaven now. They both served in World War II, but I used to see pictures of them in their military uniforms from World War II. And I also wanted to give back to this country that's done so much for my family and I. And so once again, that ties back to my family roots and my upbringing. A lot of what I'm doing today is because of the time they placed in me in terms of teaching me things, and the commitment they made to me to ensure that I had a solid education, which then leads to, obviously, education is the great equalizer, and it's allowed me to become an officer in the military. It allowed me to become someone in the House of Representatives. It allowed me to get my PhD from UT Austin 3 years ago to where now I'm Dr. Phil to my students. You know, none of that happens without education, and that education, the educational foundation, was given to me through the hard work and through the sacrifices of my mom and dad.
Absolutely. Well, and I know you have a hard stop at 12:30. So while we're not stopping the show, I want to be mindful of your time, and maybe if there's some sort of parting message that you'd like to leave our listeners. You know, we were talking about in this segment about higher education, what you're doing, service to our community, and that dedication to what we need to do moving forward. So if there's any parting message that you'd like to leave us with.
Well, you know, I kind of talked about it a little. Dr. Sunita, I'm curious. I didn't get to hear in the previous conversations that you've had with Kristi in previous weeks on this show. What is it that you're telling, you know, the people that are listening, how they can get through this? I'm really curious on your professional point of view, because I want to be able to take some pointers as I'm interacting with my residents.
Well, the last thing
before we get off the call.
Yeah, the last thing you just said, Kristi asked a question: how are you doing this? How are you staying outside the box with your thinking? And you said it, it's your gratitude.
Okay.
So now I can call you Dr. Cortez. I didn't know about the PhD. Dr. Cortez.
I go by Dr. Phil, according to my students.
Dr. Phil.
Dr. Phil from South Texas.
It is your gratitude. It actually has a frequency. So I'm a neuroscientist and I teach about brain frequencies.
Right.
Your gratitude, and you let it out. It's your family. So you're so grateful for the opportunities that have been provided to you. That gratitude forces your brain to look for opportunities to serve. Okay. And right now, a lot of us are not practicing gratitude. And we because, you know, there's so much to be not grateful for. But I'm going to tell you, your access to power, Kristi was asking, like, how do you do that? And you said it. It was just phenomenal. It is your gratitude. And I would love to tell you more. I am currently publishing a whole study about veterans and the access to, so it's for business owners. If you pursue the higher self, money follows passion. Mm-hmm. Money follows. And what you're doing, sir, I know you're not in a for-profit, but what you're doing is you're getting people interested in, people are looking for cause-driven organizations and cause-driven people. And sir, you are cause-driven. Mm-hmm. And people want to follow that in a time where there seems to be selfishness, okay, and self-serving. You are an example. So people will want to be a part of what you're doing. Just keep going.
So you're saying to continue to maybe establish some goals in the community, and then having people participate in achieving those goals will help to give them some hope throughout this pandemic, or give them something to work toward. You're saying things like that, or like maybe putting on this back to school fair, or doing, you know, some sort of canned food drive during the holidays coming up for Thanksgiving, you know, those type of things. Continue to put those out there for the community.
Yes, but before you set goals, and I'd love to talk to you about this, we can have a phone call. Find the why. why are we doing a food drive? Because a food drive, it's obvious, right? Like to provide food. But
Right.
if you can vocalize and publish that and say that in your speaking, like we need to make sure that families don't go hungry, we're doing a food drive. So the goal is important, but the why inspires people to action. I'll actually send you a TED talk that you're already doing it, sir. You're already doing it. We can just tweak it. And that's what Kristi and I have been talking about in this whole series is the why behind it. And I'd be honored to schedule a phone call with you. We'll talk more about it. You're on the right track.
I forgot about how important the why should be emphasized. You're right. I mean, my goal is to put the event on, to get it out to as many people as possible, have as many families participate, but telling the story of why this is important. You're exactly right.
It inspires
you need to
people
emphasize
to
that.
action. It's a midbrain. It's almost a visceral reaction. So I would love to talk to you about your projects and putting some why statements behind it. It'd be an honor, sir. I answer my phone for anyone right now during this COVID time. I'm just honored to be of service, especially to a veteran like yourself and a state representative. That would be really cool.
Well, I would love to connect with you, offline here and discuss what we can be doing to tell the story better of why we're doing it. And hopefully that'll encourage and inspire people to get involved and be part of it too. And maybe start, do their own on their own and contribute in their own way, whatever way that is. But just to at least engage and to get involved. You're right. We need to tell the story of why.
Yes, and your power, Dr. Phil, is your gratitude. It really is. Thank you so much for being part of this today.
Yeah. Yeah. And we have to remember that with your work, you're also creating more leaders. And that's the part that I love. And it's whether it's participants that need those school supplies or they need those boxes of food, you're giving them hope that they can do it and they can go help others. So it's always moving forward, always, because that's what we're supposed to be doing is creating more leaders and help them with their focused thinking. Right. That as we create some positive activity, we're sharing that, we're spreading it, and everyone defines it in a different way. Some people say, well, I'm spreading love, but at the end of the day, we're teaching others, we're teaching that man to fish. And not only that man, but that man's family. Right. And that's why it makes a difference. It takes that person, whether they're in the barrio or they're in, a housing complex, that they can stand up and do more just with their one vote and with their one action. So, and that's what we want to continue to share. It's so difficult for these people that don't have jobs and don't have childcare. Right. But they do still have power. They have the power of that vote. They have that power of their motivation that we want to harness and kind of, if we bring it all together, then we can do so much. We can answer all these questions. We can give you more information about how to create better policy. So that's kind of where we're going.
You hit it right on the head. And to ensure also that these families, that they don't feel that we have forgotten them in any way. I mean, they might feel that they're alone in this, that no one really cares about their situation. And we want them to know that we haven't forgotten about them. And we want to assist them. We want to help them. We want to provide them with resources. They're not alone in this fight. We're all in this together. And so I think it's important that they do receive that message that they're not alone.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, it's a tremendous thing. So it's already 12:33 and we understand if you've got to sign off, but we very much enjoyed the conversation with you.
Well, thank you again for having me, Kristi and Dr. Sunita. Would love to read some more of your work and anything that you published. Obviously, you're doing an outstanding job for our community, and I thank you for that. And Kristi, it's what you're doing also to ensure that our small businesses, I know a lot of them, and we continue to read reports and press clippings about more and more businesses that are closing. our small businesses that are not reopening, their business because of COVID-19. And so, everything you're doing at the chamber, you and your staff has taken on. It was already at a high level in terms of importance. Now it's at a stratospheric level in terms of your small businesses, because you and I both know they're the backbone of our economy and of our state, the small to mid-sized businesses. And so I want to be able to assist you and be an advocate for small businesses at the state level. And anything I can be doing, my office can be doing in terms of legislation, either cleanup legislation or brand new legislation to help our small to mid-sized businesses. I want to be a partner with you on that, Kristi. And so moving forward, I just once again want to emphasize to the residents, not only of my district, but of our entire community, that we are going to get through this together, and COVID-19 will not defeat our community. And we're going to come out of this stronger, and we're beginning to turn the corner if we continue to be safe about everything, all the different safety protocols that are in place right now and that are being recommended. We're going to turn this corner and we're going to defeat COVID-19.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much.
All
and
right.
Dr. Sunita, and we'll see you very soon. We will definitely be talking soon.
Yeah.
Okay,
So that's the first Hispanic Dr. Phil, right?
potentially. Potentially. So,
okay.
Well, thank you all both. Y'all have a wonderful rest of your day, okay?
Thank you.
You too.
Right.
Dr. Sunita, so I think there's so much to be said. What Representative Cortez was,
oh my gosh,
was talking about, him and his family. So even his brother is working on policy and has for a long time.
Yeah.
So they're a great family. But then it brings me to maybe this question that I've had for a very long time is, he made reference back to his hero and his parents' hero. We used to have some very significant people that were advocates in all communities, and people that transcended, that have now passed. So who are these leaders today that are setting the examples? I hope it's not the YouTuber that just recently got arrested. He has millions of followers that are under the age of 18.
Right.
And he's not sending a positive message. He's throwing parties in his big mansion and misusing weapons and doing different things. Who are the leaders? And we need to, in a time of COVID, we need to work towards bringing those very special people out that I feel are probably hidden in the shadows, just doing their work. We need to shine a light on them and show people we've got some phenomenal leaders in San Antonio and in the surrounding areas that we should be emulating their behavior.
Kristi, you answered your question. How do we, what do we allow the YouTube guy to be successful? What do we do? And what we need to do is what you're doing, what we're doing. First of all, you and I are trying very hard to be that leader, and we have candid conversations, you and I, about how some days we just, it's not easy.
It's a little tougher than others.
and we admit that, and we have an authentic relationship, and I think we have communication with people. So that's the first thing, be that person. Right. The other thing is, you and I are creating a venue to highlight Dr. Phil, someone like State Representative Cortez, because that's another thing we can do. So there's two things: be it, and then when you see it, brag about it.
Yes.
So then what we're doing, and this is, I don't know if you remember, I'm sure you do. This is why we did this show.
From the beginning, yes,
From
absolutely.
the beginning, we said people are doing something right. We need to feature the ones that are doing it right. We need to feature what it is, and so here it is. And so you're doing it. You answered the question.
Yeah.
Be it, and then promote it, and that way we can have ripple effects. Because if we don't, the YouTuber guy will have his day. And but even if we're doing it all the time as much as we can, and there's others like us, that's what we could do.
Right. And that's definitely what's important. And lately I've been part of several other focus groups. As you know, I'm involved with public transportation here in town. And I'm listening very attentively for reactions as the focus groups interact. And there's so many people that are on the same level, that think the same, and they're brilliant people. But I can also see how they're not always listening to the other folks that have some great stories themselves, but maybe aren't as articulate, maybe can't always get the message across, and they are almost immediately get cut off. And it's one of those things that I feel like, but wait, we need to kind of drill down, get through that minutia to get to the core issue, because they have something valuable to say. So even during COVID, we really need to be listening to people. We need to be listening even more, because people are filled with so much emotion.
Yep.
Just their brain is on overload. I think, what was it in a previous show? I know you talked about how we've been in this emergency state for now 6 months.
Yeah.
And so we're getting that brain fatigue that is just, it's hurting us. But we're still trying to live a very high functioning life, still participate in all our activities, still keep our family going. Those of us who have kids, making sure they're doing some sort of work or reading. It's a lot. It's a lot at that high level.
It is, but think about it. Right now, you and I are what we're doing, and I'm not kidding. And I want, if anybody's listening, soon as Kristi and I get off the phone, we're both on an adrenaline rush. Now, I'm not telling you that to brag. I'm telling you that what we're saying, what science is confirming, is that the brain needs to be cause driven. The brain needs a fight. And if you don't choose a fight, it's going to find one that's not worthy of you. Yes. Right now, the fight is survival. And and please make sure your bills get paid. If you're a business owner, you've got to stay in business. We get that. And then in between, make the phone call to your employee, go to your neighbor, cook a meal and give it to someone that you know may have a diagnosis. Leave it at their door, because those are the things that will get you through this as a thriver, not just a survivor.
Yes.
We are wired to make a difference. We are wired to know that our life matters. The number one reason for depression, the number one reason for suicide, is life makes no sense. There's no reason for my existence, so why bother? Find a reason for your existence during this time when nothing makes sense. You decide a reason for your existence as a matter of what you just decide. Now, is it hard? Yes. And Kristi and I were here, and some days we don't know exactly what to say, but we'll get there, right? If you'll just stay plugged into this, our live show, the events that Kristi is doing through the Chamber of Commerce, the things that I'm hosting, different things that are going on. I'm doing a seminar for free on mental resilience, the grit factor, August 25th. What a blessing. We've already got people signed up.
Yeah.
So what we're looking at is, how do we be mentally tough? And there's people out there just like you guys that are asking the questions, and they're doing it. And Kristi and I just want to bring that information. That's our way to serve. And you know what's fun, Kristi, too, is if the YouTube guy wins at any level, like he gets that, you know what? I go to sleep and I wake up knowing that I did what I could do. And that's really what matters. If I take my last breath, I want to know that I did all that I could do. And that's really what matters.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
My last
We have
breath.
to take it one day at a time.
Yep. We're starting with the end in mind.
Mm-hmm.
So keep the end in mind. It's really about, did I do all that I could do? And whoever wins at the end, I just got to be good with myself. Right.
Right. Absolutely. And I really love that you talked about, I know that there's a lot of folks with depression, some of them, and I would venture to say most of them don't realize that they're depressed.
Yes.
And so whatever you do, today is a new day, as is tomorrow. And even if you had nothing, but maybe, actually, this will bring it home. I'll give you a little story. So my husband was looking he's rebuilding a vehicle, and that's where he's been putting his time and effort to keep his mind more focused. And he went and bought a part for this truck and became engaged with this elderly gentleman here in town. So he's buying this part, and then they start a conversation, and consequently an hour in, the gentleman says, well, I'm here alone. I'm widowed. My wife passed away. So I'm just spending time. I post parts. I have vehicles to take apart to share with others. So I'm not trying to get rich. I just want to share a little bit. They ended up getting into a really engaging conversation and found that they had a lot in common. They had a lot to trade, actually.
Yeah.
And this old man was able to help other people that were waiting for other parts. It's kind of that, just in case you run across this. And you could see the change in demeanor when that connection happened. You could see that from that very tired look, oh, well, I'm just here alone, just take your part and, pay me the money, to when that conversation started up, he just brightened up. And I was just watching from a distance because it was such a great, very simple exchange. And I love seeing that. Someone thinking that they have nothing to offer, really offering quite a bit. And
Yeah.
that was on both parties, I think. At least that's what I believe.
Kristi, the brain craves what you just, that, and we're all a movement. Every single one of us is a walking, talking movement. And when something like that happens, it has ripple effects. It causes an energy. It causes from one person to another person to pass that forward.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. When we look at the essence of success, like the most bottom line, what is success? And it really is that one person. And I used to think, I have a exercise I do with my clients. So we imagine our funeral. And I've done this exercise with myself. And you know what I found?
What?
At my funeral, I didn't really care about having a room full of people because, I'm a public speaker. I do all these things, stages. So when I really boiled down to it and I imagined what I wanted at my funeral, I wanted people that as they were talking to each other, they said, she did that for me. And it wasn't, I thought I wanted, like Gandhi, right? Like people, you couldn't fit them in. What I really wanted was that there was those people that knew that I made, and I knew that I made a difference for that person.
Yeah.
And that was very eye-opening for me. And I think we're all like that.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. And I have to definitely echo that. I realized probably about maybe 15 years ago, something like that hit me in another way, that I always said, oh, well, they always get this and they're always the lucky ones. And then as through my own self-discovery, I realized, wait, but all I truly want is to, if all you said is, well, Kristi introduced me to this person, and then that spurred an opportunity that I used to the benefit of myself and others, that alone made me so happy. That was it. That's so small. And it didn't even, I'm not getting anything for it monetarily, but I am getting this emotional rush that says, wow, you connected two people that were meant to be together, whether in business or otherwise. And that's where I get my fulfillment from.
You know, Kristi, I think the world of you, and I want to say Kristi is not unusual, like in the sense of, Kristi, you're a great person, but this is a human thing, common to all humans, actually.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you're in touch with it, and I want more people to get in touch with it so their actions can be deliberate rather than random.
Yes.
Then we start living our lives intentionally, right? And I think the biggest compliment I can give you is that you're intentional about your life. And a lot of us are not. We're numb. We're running around. A lot of human beings right now are numb. We're trying not to feel. Yeah. We're not very intentional right now. It's like what things come and we respond, things come and we respond. And you know what? That's human. So if you're listening to this and you're like, well, I kind of suck. Look at Kristi. It's not. It's not human right now. It's human right now to be numb. And numb is a good place because it's neutral. It's better than depressed, actually. But we crave as human beings to make a difference. And I'm so glad that the really special thing, Kristi, about you is that you're aware of it. And I believe Dr. Phil is aware of it too. I don't know if he quite, understood. I see great leaders that know, like we were talking about Miss Aguillon.
Yes.
She knows and didn't really voice it. The young man from that restaurant that we talked with the other day.
Oh, yes, from Comfort Cafe. Yes.
He knows. He was like, boom, 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 stuff coming out of his mouth. And I was trying to write it down. He knows.
Yes.
But he doesn't realize how unique that is and that he needs to be a role model. And he kind of is by default because he's a manager.
Yes.
So he's creating a company culture, but he doesn't know he's creating a company culture. So we need to push these leaders up and make them aware of what they're doing so they can be more intentional about it. Like I really believe you're intentional. So thank you.
Thank you. Well, we've got to wrap it up. We've taken a little bit more of our extra time today. So definitely I want to thank you. I love our conversations because I know that after we get off our call, I am even more productive throughout the day and as we move forward. So any little push always helps.
Well, thank you for allowing us allowing me to be a part of this. And really, guys, this is it. This is what it looks like to be a sustainable brain. Doing things like this, Kristi and I, we donate our time really.
Yes.
I'm not required to do this, but it feeds our soul, doesn't it?
It does. Absolutely. So I want to remind you, Dr. Sunita, please, for those of folks that are listening, if you'll please post the link to that talk that you're going to have, just in case they're interested, because that is with another organization, that's something else. And if they want to get more in depth, they can reach out to you directly or register for this event.
Yeah, it's totally free. It's the Brain Coach team doing it. And yes, I'll send that. I'll put it out.
Okay, wonderful. And thank you everyone else for listening. I greatly appreciate your time as we do every single week. So I am Kristi Villanueva. What I also want to remind you of is August 13th. That's another busy, busy day. We will have another session of the Brain Coach, Sustainable Brain, at 12:15. But after that is we're going to have a little fun. We decided the chamber is going to continue on its path to education, but with a little fun. So I hope that you will consider registering yourself or a team, whether it's coworkers or friends, to join us at 4 o'clock on Thursday, August 13th. The trivia game will start at 4:30, and we're going to have some great fun. We won't take up much of your time, but there is an opportunity to win some great prizes. We've had many, many small businesses contribute, and we are so grateful to all of them for offering up our prizes. So please join us, call our office for more information. And then again, we will have many more classes on a variety of topics to come. So we hope to hear from you. And we want to wish everyone a fantastic day. Thank you again for joining us. Don't forget to like and share this program. We'll see you soon.
Right, Kristi, thank you.
Thank you.